Close your eyes for a moment, and listen to the sound of your own silence. There may be a word hidden deep inside you, forgotten, waiting to be remembered. It doesn't shout, it doesn't impose itself, it doesn't try to convince anyone. It simply vibrates. And it's this vibration, silent and real, that has the power to reshape your entire reality. Perhaps you're here not by chance, but because something inside you, a longing for what hasn't yet been lived, a void that no success has filled, is asking to be seen. And what if that absence is, in truth, an invitation to creation? You may have tried everything, affirmations in front of the mirror, notebooks filled with desires, visualization practices that promised everything. And yet, life remained on the same beat. Frustration, spiritual exhaustion, a shaken faith that refuses to fade. The heart still dreams, but the mind wonders, what if none of this works? It's in that space between hope and doubt that the deepest pain lives, nameless, heavy on your shoulders, clouding your days with the feeling that something essential is always missing. This is the pain we want to hold with care now. Joe Dispenza, a neuroscientist who merged the precision of science with the language of the soul, shows us that true transformation doesn't come from the effort of the rational mind, but from the alignment of intention, emotion, and energy. He explains that our words, when charged with authentic vibration, can reshape the electromagnetic field we emit, reconfiguring not just the brain, but the body, the heart, the very fabric of reality. It's not merely about speaking. It's about vibrating. It's not the word spoken into the wind. It's the word whispered in your internal silence, which truly creates. The question guiding us today is simple, yet profound: why can a single word, used in silence, change everything? Because there is a void inside us that cannot be filled with sound, but with presence. Many fail at manifesting because they remain stuck in external doing, in mechanical repetition, in the hope that noise will yield results. But the quantum field, the space where all possibilities already exist, responds to coherent vibration, not to chaotic effort. And the truth is that often, what blocks manifestation is precisely the overload of unfelt words, the internal noise that disrupts the frequency of creation. This video is an invitation, not to repeat more, not to speak louder, but to descend into the sacred space of silence where the true word is born. We will journey through the science of the unconscious, the discoveries of the physics of consciousness, the teachings of masters like Dispenza and Lipton, and your own inner world. Together, we'll uncover how a word, when received in silence and pulsed with presence, can reprogram your mind, awaken your body, and align your soul with the creative field. Because perhaps what you need most now isn't another answer, but the courage to listen to what's already there, waiting to be felt. Imagine a word being planted inside your body like a seed in dark earth. Silent, imperceptible to external eyes, yet carrying a vibrational code that begins to spread, cell by cell, intention by intention. This is precisely what a silent word is, a quantum seed. And just as a plant requires time, darkness, and warmth to germinate, your reality too demands that fertile inner space, free from the noise of hurry, anxiety, and immediate expectation. Because not just any word creates, it's the one you carry with presence, with genuine emotion, with a vibration that echoes beyond thought. How many times have you tried to manifest something, yet felt powerless nonetheless? As if you said, "I want it," but deep down, everything inside you whispered, "I don't believe." That is hidden vibrational pain. You can't see it in the mirror, nor hear it in the affirmations you speak aloud. But it's there, in the tightness of your body, the repetitive loops of your mind, and the heart that beats without hope. Joe Dispenza reveals that true creation begins when a word is felt, not just as a mental idea, but as an embodied emotion. That's how it activates new neural pathways and shifts your electromagnetic field. The word becomes frequency. The frequency becomes reality. But why is this so hard to live and practice? Because we've been trained to speak, not to feel. To repeat, not to vibrate. When you repeat an affirmation lacking genuine emotion, it's like trying to start an engine with a dead battery. You turn the key, you hear the click, but nothing starts. Your inner engine doesn't engage. This, Dispenza calls, is the lack of coherence between intention and emotion. Creation only happens when the brain and heart speak the same language. And this language begins with the right word, articulated in the right place, within. This is the bridge between synapses and heart. Between the cortex, where you think, and the cardiac center, where you resonate. When there is cardiac coherence, electrical synchronization occurs, and this synchronization is perceived by your surrounding field, what ancient traditions referred to as the aura, and what science today recognizes as a measurable electromagnetic field. By repeating silently a word that symbolizes your deepest desire, such as healing, abundance, or peace, while breathing deeply, you're not merely calming your mind. You're programming a new vibrational pulse. You're activating a coherent field linking brain, heart, and energy. Try it now, if you'd like. Close your eyes for a brief moment. Choose a single word. Breathe in slowly and deeply. As you inhale, let it arise in your chest. As you exhale, allow it to expand. Do this with presence. No expectation, no pressure. Just feel your body as the temple receiving this energetic seed. You are creating. And if, even after practicing, you still feel that it's not working, pay attention to the clues. Subtle signs that your word is still just noise, persistent tension in your body, racing repetitive thoughts, that misalignment between what you say you want and what you actually feel you deserve. These symptoms are not failures, they are compasses. They show there is still internal misalignment. And the first step to realignment is acceptance. It's not about forcing the right word. It's about listening to what your body and soul are genuinely ready to receive. Because every word only flourishes when it finds fertile soil, and that soil is your silence. The kind of space where there is no pressure, no hurry, no fear. Just you, and the vibration of your choice. Sometimes, what prevents manifestation is not a lack of faith, but an excess of noise. An invisible, almost imperceptible noise that echoes within the mind, filled with disorganized thoughts, misaligned expectations, and words that try to force a desire without nurturing its root. Breaking through this noise may be one of the greatest challenges of conscious manifestation. Because we've been conditioned to believe that the more we talk about something, the more energy we give it. But the quantum field doesn't respond to the number of words, it responds to the vibrational quality of what you feel in silence. It's counterintuitive, yet profoundly revealing. The true creative power of the word is born when it emerges from the void. Not the void of despair, but the fertile silence of presence. Joe Dispenza and the Masters of Consciousness explain that silence is not absence, it is a heightened form of presence. It is like the dark soil before the seed sprouts. Nothing seems to be happening, but that is where everything begins. When you quiet yourself inwardly and rest your attention on a single word, you create space where the quantum field can respond. And that response doesn't come with noise, but with subtle signs, vibrational shifts, synchronicities. It's common to hear that speaking louder increases your intention, but that's a misconception. Sound is physical vibration. It moves air, but it doesn't always move consciousness. When you talk too much about what you want, without emotional coherence, you create a scattered field. It's like throwing multiple stones into a lake, none of them create deep ripples. But when you allow a single drop to fall into the center of stillness, it creates waves that expand far beyond what the eye can see. Too many words can also block your frequency. Think of how often you've tried to affirm something, only to leave the practice more anxious than you entered. Mental noise, mechanical repetition, immediate expectations, all of it sabotages your vibrational field. The mind becomes fragmented, the heart disconnected, the body exhausted. That's when frustration is born. And that's why, sometimes, less is more. It's not about repeating more. It's about feeling more. There is a silent factor that acts as an invisible saboteur, the buildup of errant thoughts, the automatic echo of the mind. When you don't focus, your energy disperses. When you disperse, you don't create a field. The field requires coherence to respond. And that coherence is born from simplicity, from choosing a single word, holding it at the center of your silence, allowing it to vibrate through your body, observing how it changes your breath, your posture, your inner state. Practice now, if you feel called. 3 minutes. Just 3 minutes of active silence. Choose your word. Sit in a quiet place. Breathe. And keep that word alive within you, without hurry, without trying to make it happen. Simply observe. How does it vibrate? Where does it pulse in your body? What images does it evoke? You are beginning to cultivate a field. You are generating resonance. You are stepping out of noise and into frequency. Remember, true creation doesn't require spectacle. It is born like a star is born, in silence, in darkness, in the void. And still, it illuminates everything around it. So is the silent word. It doesn't need to be heard by anyone but the universe. And the universe always hears the silence that vibrates with truth. Transforming the silent word into tangible reality doesn't require complex rituals or superhuman effort. It requires vibrational consistency. This is where many spiritual practices lose their way. In striving for the extraordinary, they forget that the sacred lives in the simple. The power of manifestation lies in bringing the inner word into your everyday life, not as an isolated technique, but as a state of being that is renewed with every small, conscious gesture. When you ritualize the word with intention, it stops being a concept and becomes embodied vibration. And it is this embodied vibration that transforms. Bruce Lipton, through his discoveries in the biology of belief, revealed that our thoughts, when infused with emotion and symbolic repetition, alter gene expression. Joe Dispenza expands on this by showing that when you repeat an intention with emotional coherence, you rewire your neurochemical identity. What was once only an idea begins to take form, in your body, in your field, in your reality. When you sustain the word in silence, write it down as a somatic code, and act in alignment with it, you are, in truth, reprogramming the matrix through which your life expresses itself. That's why we propose a 3-step technique, simple, yet deeply transformative. First, intentional silence. Choose a moment in your day, upon waking, before sleep, during a shower or a quiet coffee, and surrender to silence with your word at the center of your attention. Second, symbolic writing. Write down this word in a notebook or on special paper, not as a wish list, but as a living code, as if it were a sacred whisper you are making visible. Third, a coherent minimal action, a gesture, a decision, a choice, even something small, that reflects this word. If your word is healing, it might be a cup of tea, a moment of rest, an honest conversation. If it's abundance, it might be a gesture of generosity, a thank you, a moment of organization. Action translates vibration. Science shows that when you imagine a new reality with intention and emotion, it activates the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for conscious decision-making, and begins to create new neural pathways. This practice steers you away from old patterns of self-sabotage and builds a new mental path. It's like carving a trail in the forest. With each conscious step, the path strengthens. And over time, the old trail, shaped by beliefs like, "I'm not capable, I don't deserve," or "it won't work," loses strength, loses relevance, and fades. Some might doubt that a word can create something real. But there are stories, often quiet, that prove otherwise. Like the woman who chose the word health and, for 6 weeks, repeated it in silence every morning and night, with breath and presence. She didn't change her diet, nor start a new treatment. But she began sleeping better, felt more alive. And her clinical tests began to show subtle improvements, unexplainable, yet real. Because the body responds to the field. And the field responds to coherent vibration. Many give up halfway. 2 weeks in, sometimes less. Not because they lack ability, but because they lack symbolic persistence. The word hasn't yet found deep roots. There's still impatience. There's still distrust. But the true word, the one that rises from silence and aligns with the heart, needs time to blossom. Just as no flower blooms the day after it is planted, no new reality manifests without being sustained by faith, not in the religious sense, but as the continuous vibration of someone who already feels what they have not yet seen. In the end, it's not about controlling the external world. It's about creating a new internal world that vibrates in harmony with the reality you long to experience. And that begins now, with a word, with a gesture, with silence. Because when you transform the word into presence, the universe transforms your presence into response. There is something profoundly true in the way silence transforms us. At the end of this journey, what remains isn't how many times we repeated a phrase, nor the force with which we tried to visualize a desire. What remains is the silent vibration we learn to sustain, day after day, breath after breath. Because reality doesn't shift through hurried promises, but through the sacred consistency of an inner presence that has learned to listen before asking. The silent word holds that power. It rewires your brain, reorganizes your field, rewrites even your epigenetics. And all of it begins when you go quiet within, and choose to listen. This journey is not theoretical. It is deeply practical, concrete, and everyday. The external world may continue at its same pace, bills, commitments, relationships, challenges. But something inside you begins to vibrate differently. And in time, that internal vibration becomes a mirror for everything around you. You begin to notice subtleties, a conversation that inspires you, an idea that comes out of nowhere, an emotion that used to hurt and now feels like a portal. Everything starts within. Everything starts with the word chosen in silence. There is a real urgency in this moment. Not the urgency of fear or scarcity, but the urgency of a soul that has waited long enough. The life you want to live is not in the future. It lies dormant in the now, waiting for your vibrational permission. The quantum field responds to your state of being, not your effort to want. And being begins with small rituals of awareness, with the choice of the word, with the breath that accompanies it, with the minutes of silence you devote to feeling what you once only spoke. So pause for a moment. Right now. Choose your word. It doesn't matter which one, as long as it's true for you. It might be renewal. It might be freedom. It might be peace. Breathe. Feel. Place this word at the center of your awareness and, for 3 minutes, practice active silence. Don't think. Feel. Observe. Let this vibration spread through your body like a gentle light. Begin today. Without waiting for something external to change. Because, in truth, the change has already begun, and it started inside you. And if doubt still lingers, whispering that perhaps none of this will work, remember, the silent word is like a single drop falling into a still lake. You don't see the ripples immediately, but they expand. Slowly, silently, deeply. And they touch everything. The universe does not respond to noise. The universe responds to resonance. And resonance begins when you vibrate with coherence, with truth, with presence. Share in the comments, if you feel called to, what word you chose. What vibration it carried. What subtle shifts you've already begun to notice, no matter how small. Because when many people vibrate together, in silence, with pure intention, something invisible transforms. We create a collective field of intention. And in that field, no word is too small. No silence is wasted. Everything is a seed. Everything is creation. Everything is a return to what you have always been, a creative presence. The universe only needs one answer from you, yes. I am ready to return to myself.